There are rust complaints surfacing about the Atto 3 in Australia and New Zealand. Some stuff on the Facebook group has been said. BYD has responded. So let's talk about what is actually going on and why. Because they actually do electroplate their cars thoroughly. So what is happening? Why is it happening? We've seen a few rust complaints about the Atto 3 recently, and one of them just went kind of viral on an Aussie Facebook group, and it looked pretty bad actually at first glance. Proper little bubbling rust. And it's worth breaking down properly, I think. Is it a major issue? How common is it? How has BYD responded? Hello, folks. My name is Ben Alexander. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you to all of the members on Patreon and also here on YouTube. I really appreciate your time. So this all started when an Australian owner posted on Facebook recently about rust forming on a seam on their Atto 3. So she showed a photo of a rust bubble forming through the paint near the rear door frame, on the bottom. Not just some surface rust, but actual proper rust. It was bubbling through, it's brown, it's ugly. So it quickly gained traction. And especially once Clean Technica picked it up, reached out to BYD, they actually replied as well. So it turns out similar complaints have actually popped up in New Zealand as well, usually in areas where stone chips occur or beach air exposure could speed things up a bit. That's where things are sort of more happening more, basically. So according to the owner's post and the follow-up discussion, the rust is likely from poor surface preparation or galvanizing before paint, and this is something I'll go into a little bit in a minute. So someone in the group said that this should not happen if it was properly galvanized. Most modern cars do use electro-galvanizing, a zinc coating, to stop this exact issue, and it's really a done deal. It just fixes things, right? But the Facebook thread got over 80 comments, the last one that I was reading, with people suggesting everything from stone chips, ocean salt, and actually somebody said something about corrosive bat poo as a possible cause, which I don't think is I'm not going to buy that. But one repair shop estimated the respray cost would cost around 7,000 New Zealand dollars or 6,300 Australian dollars. BYD covered the paint job, which is, I think that's actually quite cheap, to be honest. They even got the local BYD country manager involved, which tells you that they're kind of taking it seriously, and I don't think they need the negative PR. So here is the key thing. Most owners say they've had no rust at all, and by a very big margin. So the latest article lists several responses from drivers with 2-year-old Atto 3s living near beaches and no rust issues at all. I've not seen any rust issues on any BYD actually that I've seen, or anybody that I know. Let me know if you have had some issues, or you're very welcome to email me as well and send me some pictures. So some people have even parked outside all year round, just 50 meters from the beach, from the ocean, and no issues at all. So at this stage, it really just seems like an anomaly, basically, an outlier. And early production batches are seemingly the ones that are having some of these issues. So that, I think, is the issue. That's where we should lay the blame. It's just an anomaly. But it is a PR risk as well, especially in countries like Australia and New Zealand, where people are quite picky about build quality, right? Especially in Australia, Toyota has been a long-termy, basically, and the durability of Toyotas is pretty spot on. So that's that's the benchmark, and that is the meter stick, shall we say, Toyotas. So one thing I really respect is how BYD handled it. They contacted the customers directly, paid for the repairs and the respray as well that I talked about a minute ago, and even encouraged them to get a quote from their own choice of panel shop, not just a quick patch-up. So they're clearly trying to protect their reputation in Australia, and with cars like the Dolphin and the Sealion 6, they're doing really, really well in Australia. This matters a lot, basically. They want to sell a lot of cars. BYD offers a 6-year, 150,000 kilometre bumper-to-bumper warranty, and they have said publicly that their cars are built to global standards and fully electro-galvanized. That is one thing they officially said. So they publicly avow that. So if this is a rust issue and it pops up like this, it should absolutely be covered by that one warranty, for it to be honest. And it looks exactly like they're just covering the repairs, basically. One panel beater in the comments said this looked like in quote, pre-paint contamination, which can happen in if a bit of moisture or anything like that gets, or even sweat actually, hits the panel before it goes on into the spray booth. The painting of cars has got to be imponderably clean and efficient, very efficient. It's actually a lot harder to paint a car in the factory and get the results that we are so used to than we actually think. So it's a window, I suppose, into the factory. But even Volkswagen or other brands who we are considerably less critical of in terms of their quality and longevity, because they're not as new, and this is a new brand, so we're obviously all staring at BYD. They get these issues all the time, actually, and it's really only important that they happen infrequently and that BYD, for example, are happy to cough up the money to repair them quickly. BYD also said that their Atto 3 is fully electrogalvanized and it meets international standards for corrosion resistance. I know some people have actually had them for a year or two now in Norway and in England. No rust issues at all, and they salt the roads in England, for example. Mazda has had issues with rust on Mazdas, on the Mazda 3s and the CX-5s, I think it is, in Canada and the UK, especially around the wheel arches, especially at the rear, and door seams. Honda, major issues for like 20 years around wheel arches and that sort of thing. Tesla got majorly slammed actually for poor paint protection on the early Model 3s in Norway and in Canada as well. They were rusting within 12 months. Hyundai as well, they had issues all around the subframe and suspension, or the suspension mounts in the US on, I think it was Elantras and Sonatas. Volkswagen, they also had complaints on Mark IV, Mark V Golfs all over Europe. So I don't think this is a big issue. In Australia, the Atto 3 comes with good warranties. So it comes with 6 years, 150,000 kilometre standard vehicle warranty, 8 years, 160,000 Ks on the battery, and 6 years of anti-corrosion cover, which is obviously very, very good. Also in Australia, there is, I think it's a law, isn't it? And it's sort of protected under a Consumer Act or something, where they have to sell a product and it has to last a certain amount of time. So that's one of the rules we have in Australia. These companies are not allowed to sell something that can just fall apart like this. So that anti-corrosion warranty is pretty decent. 6 years is all right, actually. Some legacy brands do 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, and it's only worth something if the customer service team honours it and they actually pay. And what we've seen BYD is actually just stepping up and doing the right thing. So with no questions asked, should you be worried? Honestly, I don't think you should at all. If you've had the car for 6 months and you've seen nothing, or 12 months and seen nothing, you're probably fine. You can just you can check it with your own eyes, or you can go to a shop, check the lower edges, check all the backs of the doors, check the wheel arches, check the sills, especially if you live near a coast, or if you drive on gravel. And if you see nothing, I'm pretty sure you're going to be fine, I reckon, for the next few years. If you do spot rust, take a photo, log it. You're very welcome to send it to me. My email address is below. And get in touch with BYD straight away. That 6-year warranty should take care of that. This is a very good time for BYD, actually, to be proactive, and I don't think it's a good time for them to be reactive. I think they should consider a public statement, probably clarifying the issue and explaining what they've done since, and maybe even why it happened, just as a bold thing to do. Because even though this looks like an early batch issue, the image of this whole thing matters, and perhaps that's why they aren't going to make a public statement, actually. So this whole thing actually shows us that BYD is being held to the same standard, actually, as Toyota, Tesla, Volkswagen now, which is fantastic. And it means that the brand has arrived, and buyers expect consistency, but it also is a reminder that these aren't small volume cars anymore. These are global products made in factories by machines, and even small defects can ripple across the market, basically, in certain continents. So I recently spoke with a person who works at BYD, and they actually told me that they sold 23,000 and I think 500 vehicles in the first half of this year in Australia, and only 4 rust cases apparently went to Brisbane. That's what I heard Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what I heard, which is almost none at all if you think about it. And rust can be fixed, especially if it's just a little pinprick or something small, which it usually is, because when you buy a new car, people obviously are staring at every inch of it all the time. It's just annoying, actually, because the paint from a factory is more than likely a bit stronger, a bit better quality, and probably has better adhesion to the actual body of the car than the paint that comes from a spray gun at a repair shop. And I know some people will be quick to jump in and say, but if you spray the car properly, you shouldn't have any issues. And you're absolutely right. But the problem is, in the real world, that really isn't, doesn't happen, and it's inconsistent how people repair cars. And I know someone who works at a Volkswagen repair shop, and when they repair cars, they're supposed to use a very specific, expensive clear coat. I think it's Spies Hecker, but it's 4 times the price of the one that they actually choose to use, but they just take the money from Volkswagen and pocket that cash, basically, and so the customer gets what apparently is the same thing. So you can absolutely imagine this is going to happen all over Australia too, and potentially after a few years, you might have, slightly faded paint, a few extra scratches, not very good. The edges might start flaking on certain parts, because actually in the real world that does happen. And a lot of cars that are repaired, the people know who repair the cars that it's only supposed to last a few years to get them through, and then it's out of that time where you can sort of take it back. This is not a disaster, I don't think, not at all, but it is something that I think BYD needs to get on top of really quickly. A few rust bubbles can spark a lot of headlines, actually, and especially for a newer brand trying to prove itself still, because they're here, they've got the, they're sort of gaining the loyalty, as it were. And the truth is, I think every car brand has some kind of rust or paint drama at some point, and all the legacy manufacturers have all had it, as far as I can check. And Toyota, Tesla, Mazda, Ford as well. I'm aware of Ford having issues in the past. So the real test is, how do they respond to it when those occasional anomalies do happen? And right now, BYD seems to be just doing super well at that. Have you noticed any rust on your Atto 3 or Dolphin or Seagull or Shark 6? Or maybe you've just seen this kind of issue with other brands in the past, but you've not had them on your new BYD. Please let me know in the comments if you've had any issues at all or you've noticed anything. If you're in Australia as well, or New Zealand, especially near the coast, I'd really like to hear your thoughts on this. Drop a comment below for me. And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. You're very welcome to subscribe to the channel, or you can become a member, even for free, on Patreon and YouTube members. And you help me keep the channel going.